Welcome back to AfriFreedom Channel, where we dive deep into Africa's political landscape, socio-economic trends, and global affairs that impact our continent. If you're new here, make sure to like, share, and subscribe to stay informed with powerful stories that truly matter. We bring you critical insights that mainstream platforms often overlook. And as you watch, we ask you, respectfully and boldly, drop your opinions in the comment section. Let your voice be heard, because AfriFreedom is not just a channel. It's a movement. The views presented in this video are for informational and analytical purposes only. They do not represent any official stance or incite any form of unrest or disinformation. We encourage respectful engagement and critical thought. In a bold and transformative decision, the President of Botswana has suspended all internal mining cooperation agreements, with a firm order that all minerals must now be processed locally.
And I have said, I want to change this country spectacularly in 3 years. So I don't have 10 years, I don't have 5 years, I don't have 6 months to decide whether or not and go to court. No, I don't have that time. People, yourselves, need accommodation. And if I'm going to submit myself to a process that will take me 10 years to deliver accommodation to you, then I would have failed you, and failed you spectacularly. So what do? We need to ensure that there's transparency, there's openness, there's accountability in each and every process that we undertake. No doubt that is not negotiable, and that there is no corruption. And so people say, when you acknowledge a failed system and you say, whatever we do, we must not do this one. He say he's trying to give tenders to his relatives. I want you to know my relatives. Just check. You know them. You need to know them so that you can track whether any one of my relatives has any tender. You need to ascertain, you need to be sure about these things. So that when these allegations are flung about, because one is seeking to move from an entrenched system of corruption to something that offers us some redemption, yet you are able to interrogate the allegations. And we must interrogate the allegations together. And so it's going to be very critical for us to find ways of moving away from this corrupt system and engaging in a different one that we can monitor and track, one that delivers results timelessly, within budget, no corruption. And the ambition is to build 100,000 of these houses in the next 3 years. I've said 3. The minister says he wants to do it in 2 years. And so this program is being rolled out in every constituency. The minimum is 1,000 houses. And so wherever you come from, you are entitled, if you have a piece of land that you've not been able to develop because of the challenges that we all face, you now can, for a very reasonable amount per month, at least put up some decent shelter. The idea is to ensure our citizens have decent accommodation, but we'll also engage in other programs that seek to deliberately transfer wealth, claw it back from where it is, and place it in the hands of the most ordinary of our citizens.
This move signals a seismic shift in how Africa manages its natural resources. For too long, the continent has exported its wealth in raw form while importing finished goods at high costs, creating a cycle of dependency and underdevelopment. Botswana is breaking that cycle. This directive doesn't just support local industry, it reclaims the country's economic agency and demands a seat at the global table, not as a supplier of raw materials but as a producer of value. This leads us to important questions. Why has Africa, with its vast mineral wealth, remained economically sidelined for so long? What internal and external forces have kept our nations from demanding more from global partnerships? Could Botswana's bold action inspire other African nations to prioritize internal development, even if it means facing diplomatic or economic pressure from powerful global mining interests? Is Africa ready to pay the price of true economic independence? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Should more leaders across Africa follow this path, or will the cost be too high for fragile economies? Meanwhile, Burkina Faso's president, Captain Ibrahim Traoré, has stirred the global stage with his candid remarks on the Russia-Ukraine conflict.
But it was the Westerners who came and told the Ukrainian president not to accept. We followed all that, and in the end, what did it lead to? Well, I think all of this falls under manipulation. I think they were manipulated. Otherwise, the Ukrainian and Russian peoples were, well, it was the Soviet Union. They are brothers. How is it that hatred and Russophobia could be cultivated within this population? The war did not start in 2022. It started in 2014. This is also a reality that many people perhaps don't know, or that people refuse to acknowledge. It was in 2014 that the war began. And today, people are surprised to see that others might be shifting the blame onto Russia and all that. When Russian-speaking civilians were being bombed in 2014, who was speaking out? There are images that still exist. People were locked inside houses and burned. There are images that are there, but action should have been taken all that time. They were manipulated. And today, the reality is plain to see. You see, all the aid that was given, it wasn't really aid. They were told to hand over their minerals. In reality, Ukraine no longer belongs to the Ukrainians. They were manipulated, and now they are the losers. All sectors will be managed by those who led them into this war. The hope was to weaken Russia, but Russia is coming out of this war even stronger. So I think they need to understand this and come back to their senses in order to negotiate and achieve peace. Because they have declared that they support the terrorists. You all followed that. And we can also see on the ground that they are indeed supporting the terrorists. This is not a good war. I think they are completely mistaken. They need to come back to their senses. In any case, they can support them, but we will fight them and we will win. So, if they still haven't understood by now that this whole maneuver was meant to bring them down and seize their critical minerals, they can keep waging war. So that's what I can say about the situation. Every people must understand that they need to avoid being manipulated and getting into a very complicated situation. That's more or less what I can say.
Boldly stated that Ukraine was manipulated into war by the West with the intention of weakening Russia, but in the end, Russia has only emerged stronger. This isn't just political rhetoric. It's a radical shift in perspective, especially from an African head of state who sees global affairs not through the lens of allegiance, but through the prism of truth and historical awareness. Whether or not one agrees with his statement, it brings to light a deeper question about international power dynamics. How often are smaller nations coerced or lured into conflicts that serve the interests of others? How often are alliances marketed as partnerships, when in truth, they are acts of exploitation or geopolitical chess moves? Could Africa be next on the board? And if so, are we prepared to protect our sovereignty from the same kind of manipulation? Or will we once again be drawn into conflicts that are not ours to begin with? We want to know your view. Is Traore simply telling uncomfortable truths, or is he stepping into a danger zone with his geopolitical commentary? Share your thoughts and engage with others respectfully. This is the kind of discussion that builds an awakened continent. Botswana's economic stand and Burkina Faso's geopolitical courage are not isolated events. They are part of a growing trend that shows Africa is beginning to awaken. These are not just political moves, they are symbolic of a deeper hunger for self-determination, justice, and dignity. The world is watching. But more importantly, Africans are watching each other, taking notes, drawing courage, and beginning to believe that we can shape our own futures. But let's not be naive. With every step toward sovereignty comes resistance. With every declaration of independence, new pressures will rise. So we ask you, will the people stand with their leaders when international forces begin to push back? Will civil societies in Africa support hard but necessary decisions? Or will we collapse under the weight of convenience and fear? At AfriFreedom Channel, we are committed to asking the questions that matter. To bringing you stories that inspire action, not just awareness. If you value this kind of content, make sure to like this video, share it with your network, and subscribe for more hard-hitting, thought-provoking updates. And once again, we invite you to drop your comments, respectfully, powerfully, because your perspective is part of this rising African voice. Until next time, stay aware, stay courageous, and stay committed to a free and sovereign Africa. This is AfriFreedom Channel.